Chosen one, you are not here by accident. You are listening to this because your spirit recognizes the exact season you are standing in. Right now, it may feel as though heaven has grown quiet, as if the prayers you have prayed are echoing in an empty room. But I need you to hear this truth deep within your soul. God is not ignoring you. He is hiding you. There is a profound difference between being forgotten and being concealed. What you are experiencing in this season is not a punishment or delay. It is a divine strategy. It is the spiritual incubator required for the magnitude of what is coming to your life. Heaven is demanding your silence right now, because the blessing that is forming is in its most fragile state. Think of a seed planted in the soil. For it to germinate and build a root system strong enough to weather storms, it requires total, absolute darkness. It must be buried away from the elements, away from the noise, and away from the eyes of those who walk above it. If you dig up a seed just to prove to others that it is growing, you will kill it before it ever breaks the surface. This is exactly what happens when you announce a supernatural shift before it has fully matured. When you share your sacred visions, your impending breakthroughs, or your financial shifts with people who are not spiritually equipped to hold them, you experience what is known as spiritual leaking. Every time you speak too soon, you drain the momentum of the miracle. You invite unnecessary spiritual warfare into a space that God intended to keep heavily guarded. Not everyone has the capacity to celebrate your elevation. Even those who genuinely love you may unconsciously project their own fears, limitations, and unresolved failures onto your destiny. Their words, their doubts, and their invasive questions can alter the atmosphere of your preparation. God is telling you to close your mouth so that heaven can finish its work uninterrupted. Understand that this silence is not born of fear. There is a vast difference between secrecy and privacy. Secrecy is a reaction driven by the fear that what you have will be stolen or sabotaged. Privacy, however, is driven by the profound wisdom that what you have been given is simply too valuable to be mishandled by unready hands. You are not hiding because you are afraid. You are moving privately because you respect the anointing and the resources God is preparing to place in your life. When the door finally opens, when the provision finally drops into your accounts, heaven does not want you scrambling to explain or justify it to people who never understood your struggle in the first place. This period of isolation and silence is doing something even deeper inside of your heart. God is deliberately starving your need for external validation. He is actively breaking any remaining ties to the applause and approval of others. If you need people to validate your journey while you are in the valley, you will inevitably become a slave to their opinions when you reach the mountaintop. God is teaching you to sit in a quiet room and know with absolute certainty that you are deeply loved, highly favored, and divinely chosen, even when no one is clapping for you. He is building an inner fortress so strong that when the sudden shift occurs and the world finally sees what God has done, their praise will not inflate your ego, and their criticism will not break your spirit. You are being anchored in the dark so that you will never lose your balance in the light. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. Let the divine seed finish its work. Chosen one, listen closely to the rhythm of your own breathing right now. For far too long, you have been operating on a frequency of absolute exhaustion. I need you to understand that poverty, lack, and continuous struggle are not merely financial conditions. They are neurological traumas. They wire your brain for panic. You know the exact physical sensation I am talking about. The sudden tightness in your chest when an unexpected bill arrives. The heavy anxiety that washes over you before checking your bank account. The underlying, a constant hum of fear whispering that there will never be enough. You have been conditioned by a culture that glorifies the hustle, a system that tells you if you do not grind, if you do not bleed, if you do not sacrifice your sleep and your peace, you will not survive. But heaven is intervening in your life to break that toxic cycle. You are being transitioned out of the American hustle and into divine alignment. I need you to hear this profound spiritual truth. You cannot carry a millionaire's blessing with a survivor's nervous system. If God were to drop the sudden wealth, the massive opportunity, or the ultimate breakthrough into your lap while you are still trapped in a state of fight or flight, the blessing would crush you. Your unhealed trauma would turn that divine provision into a curse. If you received millions while operating in survival mode, you would either hoard every penny out of a terrifying paranoia that it could all disappear tomorrow, or you would spend it recklessly to temporarily soothe the deep psychological pain of your past lack. Neither of those reactions is stewardship. Both are driven by fear. God does not want you to manage heaven's resources from a place of panic. He wants you to manage them from a place of supreme, unshakable peace. That is why this waiting season has felt so long and at times so painfully still. God is executing a divine detox on your mind and your body. He is literally rewiring your brain to hold immense wealth with a steady pulse. Divine provision flows in order, not in chaos. It flows through rested minds, not exhausted bodies. God is using this delay to teach your nervous system that it is finally safe to let your guard down. He is removing the false belief that you have to micromanage the universe to be taken care of. Right now, heaven is asking you to unclench your jaw, to drop your shoulders, and to stop bracing for impact. You no longer have to live in anticipation of the next disaster. The trauma of your past lack is being washed away in this quiet season so that when the abundance finally arrives, it will feel natural. It will not feel like a shock to your system. It will feel like a comfortable garment you were always meant to wear. You are being trained to wake up with a quiet mind, to make decisions without the pressure of desperation, and to trust that the God who feeds the sparrows will certainly fund the assignment He has placed over your life. Step out of survival mode, chosen one. You are entering the frequency of divine rest, and it is in this rest that your greatest wealth will be sustained. Chosen one, there is a dangerous illusion that traps many who pray for abundance. It is the seductive fantasy of the sudden windfall, the overnight rescue, the winning ticket that magically erases every hardship. But I need you to hear the spiritual reality of what is actually happening in your life. The world is full of tragic, quiet stories of people who begged God for a financial breakthrough, received it, and within a few short years found themselves more broken, more indebted, and more isolated than they were in their poverty. Why does this happen? It happens because wealth without character is not a blessing. It is an accelerant. It is a magnifying glass that takes whatever is broken, insecure, or undisciplined inside of a person and multiplies it on a public stage. Their character could not sustain what their sudden luck acquired. But heaven is protecting you from this fate. You are being rigorously trained to be a steward, not a lottery winner. A lottery winner views money as a desperate escape hatch. They see wealth as permission to run away from their problems, to abandon discipline, and to finally prove to the world that they are somebody. But a chosen one understands that divine provision is never an escape. It is a holy assignment. You are not being handed a ticket out of your life. You are being handed a heavy, sacred tool to build a legacy. to fund the visions heaven gave you, and to restore the ruined places. This is why you must conquer the illusion of sudden wealth right now, before the bank account ever changes. You must realize that the discipline required to gracefully manage $100,000 is the exact same discipline required to manage $100 today. God is not waiting to see what you will do when you are rich. He is watching what you do right now, in the unseen moments, while you are waiting. He is watching how you tip the waitress when your own budget is tight. He is watching how you manage the small, seemingly insignificant resources you currently possess. He is observing whether you can find the courage to save when it feels like a drop in the ocean. These are not trivial details to heaven. These are the character exams that qualify you for supernatural volume. The illusion whispers that you will suddenly become wise, generous, and disciplined the moment the big check clears. But heaven knows that money does not change who you are. It simply unmasks who you have been all along. By keeping you in this holding pattern, God is immunizing you against the curse of lottery syndrome. He is stripping away the entitlement and replacing it with profound gratitude. He is ensuring that when the sudden shift manifests, the weight of the blessing will not crush the vessel holding it. You will not lose what heaven is about to give you, chosen one. You will sustain it, multiply it, and pass it down. Because your foundation was built in the dark, on the solid rock of stewardship, long before the applause ever began. Chosen one. As heaven prepares to elevate your life, there is an uncomfortable reality that no one speaks of when they promise you a financial breakthrough. Your elevation will require a degree of separation. You are standing on the precipice of a new reality, one that is not meant to carry everyone who walked with you through the valley. This is often the most painful part of the transition, the deep, heavy, and very real burden of survivor's guilt. It is the sinking feeling that washes over you when your prayers are finally answered, when your breakthrough manifests. But the people you love, the friends you grew up with, or the family members you care deeply about are still trapped in the same cycles of struggle, poverty, or emotional stagnation. You will look around your blessed life and suddenly feel an overwhelming urge to shrink back, to apologize for your peace, and to diminish your light so they do not feel inferior in the presence of your abundance. I need you to understand that God does not want you to feel ashamed of His goodness in your life. There is a deceptive spirit that tries to convince you that because God favored you, you now owe everyone around you a financial rescue. But divine wealth is not permission to enable the dysfunction of others. Money cannot heal someone else's lack of discipline, their refusal to heal, or their resistance to God's timing. When you hand them a check to temporarily solve a consequence they created, you are not being generous. You are interrupting the very pain that God might be using to bring them to their knees. You cannot buy someone's maturity, chosen one. You cannot write a check big enough to purchase their spiritual alignment. The hardest lesson of this season is that your boundaries must become as fierce as your blessings. You must learn the spiritual weight of the word no. It is not a sin to decline to be the financial savior for toxic family members who only reach out when they are desperate. Setting boundaries is high-level spiritual maturity. It is protecting the sacred assignment heaven has entrusted to your hands. You will face resentment. You will be called stingy. You will be accused of changing, of forgetting where you came from, and of thinking you are better than everyone else. This is not about them hating you. It is about your elevation triggering every insecurity, every failure, and every unresolved issue they have chosen to ignore in their own lives. They are not mad at your money. They are grieving their own missed potential. You must navigate this relational shift with profound grace, but you must not let guilt dictate your generosity. Loving someone deeply does not mean granting them unrestricted access to your resources, your peace, or your inner circle. You are allowed to pray for them from a distance. You are allowed to wish them well without funding their dysfunction. The wealth God is bringing into your life is meant to build a legacy, fund divine visions, and restore true dignity to those who are aligned with heaven's purpose. Do not apologize for the elevation, chosen one. Carry it with humility, but protect it with a holy, uncompromising boundary. Chosen one, the moment is rapidly approaching when the spiritual shift you have felt inside will finally manifest in the physical realm. When the door swings open, when the contract is signed, or when the provision finally clears your account, the rush of adrenaline will be overwhelming. But heaven requires you to move with calculated precision, not emotional reaction. This is why you must adopt a literal blueprint for your breakthrough, starting with the vow of stillness. For the first 6 months after your elevation arrives, you must change absolutely nothing about your lifestyle. Do not buy the new vehicle. Do not upgrade your living situation. And do not announce your new tax bracket to the world. Let the profound emotion of the sudden shift settle deep within you. The enemy will tempt you to rush, to immediately spend in order to validate your new reality. But God is asking you to sit in the quiet. And this 6-month rule is your ultimate protection against impulsive decisions born from the trauma of past lack. It proves to heaven that the blessing has not become your master, but rather, you have become the master of the blessing. Once your spirit has settled and the shock has faded, you must transition into the second phase of this blueprint, which is securing earthly wisdom. There is a dangerous and pervasive myth that faith alone will manage your finances. But spiritual wealth requires earthly vessels. It is not unspiritual to hire a brilliant accountant, to consult a trusted lawyer, or to dedicate hundreds of hours to studying financial literacy. In fact, it is the highest form of holy stewardship. God expects you to understand the economic systems of this world so that you can protect the sacred resources of heaven. Do not allow intellectual ignorance to devour what divine grace has provided. You must become a dedicated student of wealth and learn how taxes work, understand how inflation eats away at idle money, and build an ironclad fortress of legal protection around your assets. Heaven provides the miraculous seed, but you are the one who must build the barn to store the harvest securely. Finally, you must step into the ultimate purpose of your provision by strictly funding the assignment and starving the ego. When the money arrives, the temptation will be heavy to buy things simply to prove to your doubters that you finally made it. You will want to wear your wealth, to drive your wealth, and to display your wealth so that those who mocked your struggle can be forced to witness your triumph. But ego spending is a bottomless pit that will rapidly drain your divine provision. You must identify the actual, holy purpose of the resources God has placed in your hands. Is it to break the generational curse of poverty in your bloodline? Is it to fund a vision, to build a business that employs the broken, or to restore dignity to your family name? You must separate your emotional desire for vindication from your spiritual mandate for legacy. Let your wealth be a quiet, unshakable force that solves real problems, rather than a loud, fragile display that only strokes your pride. Follow this blueprint, chosen one, and your temporary breakthrough will transform into a permanent, unshakable foundation. Chosen one, as we reach the culmination of this divine message, there is one final, profound truth that must anchor your spirit. The financial provision you have been praying for is indeed on its way. The accounts will be filled, the debts will be canceled, and the earthly resources will flow. But I need you to understand that the money heaven is sending is actually the least impressive part of what God is giving you. There is a dangerous trap in believing that financial wealth will magically dissolve every ache in your soul. Money is a magnificent tool, but it only solves money problems. It can buy a house, but it cannot build a home. It can purchase a mattress, but it cannot grant you a quiet mind or a restful night of sleep. It can afford the finest doctors, but it can't heal a shattered heart. If you limit your expectation of blessings strictly to currency, you will entirely miss the masterpiece that God is painting in your life. What heaven is actually releasing to you is a multidimensional prosperity that the world's economy cannot comprehend. You are stepping into relational wealth. God is preparing to surround you with safe, grounded, and loving people who do not want anything from your hands, but simply want your heart. People who will protect your peace, honor your boundaries, and celebrate your authentic self without hidden agendas. You are also stepping into the wealth of physical health and vitality. The chronic exhaustion, the toxic stress, and the deep bone weariness that came from years of surviving in hustle culture are being washed away. Your body is finally healing because your spirit has finally found its rest. But perhaps the greatest gift you are about to receive is the unparalleled wealth of time. True divine provision is not just having a high net worth. It is the sovereign freedom to wake up in the morning without the suffocating grip of panic. It is the ability to linger over a cup of coffee, to sit in stillness, and to dictate the pace of your own day. Time is the one currency you can never earn back, and God is about to give it to you in abundance. Hear this prophetic declaration over your life right now. You are not behind. You have not missed your window, and you have not delayed your destiny by being in the valley. Every tear, every silent prayer, and every moment of quiet, unbroken faith in the dark has been witnessed by heaven. You have been perfectly equipped, rigorously trained, and meticulously prepared to handle the shifting of the seasons. The weight of what is coming will not break you, because the foundation beneath you has been built by God Himself. Take a deep, slow breath right now. Release the tension in your shoulders. Release the anxiety of the waiting. Step into this new paradigm with absolute, quiet confidence. The struggle is expiring. The silence has done its perfect work, and your season of true multidimensional wealth has officially arrived. Stay grounded, stay peaceful, and walk boldly into the abundance that has always had your name on it.